listening to Driving Law, a podcast by Kyla Lee about all things related to the rules of the road.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Driving Law. I'm Kyla Lee at Acumen Law, and with me, my co-host, Paul Doroshenko.
Nice to see you, Kyla. I see you're sitting in Brandon's office.
I was going to say, we're trading places because last week I was in the Vancouver office and you were in the Richmond office.
Was I? I don't remember last week.
Yeah, and also,
I can't remember that long ago.
I think you need to get Brandon some Deep Blue Distilleries products to put up here for when he's in, Zoom and things like that, because this is very bad advertising for us.
I think he uses the background from that we created for the firm.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we should do that. We should have, some innocuous bottles of our product behind us. I don't know that that's, half the time we're appearing for court. And so I don't know that it's appropriate to have a bunch of liquor bottles in your office when you're a lawyer appearing in court.
I created an entire wall of vein for the neutral background.
I know.
I was like,
I have a wall of vein over there. I should reorient my desk so it's behind me. Although it's not really very vain. It's not nearly what yours is.
Okay. Well,
Yours is much more. You have a much more impressive wall of vein, is what I'm saying.
until you look closely at what's on there. Anyway, there's lots to talk about here. But I thought I'd first talk about somebody who, I don't know, like we had so much random stuff this week, driving law related, but this one, I think is interesting. It is a wife in Nanaimo who's raising concerns with ICBC after her husband is being allowed currently to keep his license despite receiving 215 demerits during an assessment. And I want to be clear, we're not talking about like demerit points, like penalty points. He didn't get 215 of those because if you did, not only would you not be able to keep your license for sure, you also would be paying probably like $85,000 in penalty point premiums.
I think that's probably conservative. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a conservative. Yeah, it's probably actually well over 100. But anyway, this person was, it was a medical fitness prohibition. So her husband is in his 80s. He's got a cognitive impairment diagnosis. She says he's a danger to the public. He goes out and drives and doesn't make good decisions on the road. And she hasn't gotten in a car with him for over 5 years because she doesn't feel safe. She also won't let her dog in the car with him. And of course, given his age and his cognitive decline, his doctor is involved in monitoring him. And one obligation that a lot of people don't realize doctors have, which is creepy, and I don't like it for other reasons, is to tell on
you out.
Tell on you to the government if you're not able to drive. If you have
Rat you out. Your doctor's a rat.
Yeah, your doctor's a rat. And it's not just like, people, I think people would be more accepting of it if you thought it was just, oh, you've got Alzheimer's, and you can't drive. But no. It's anything. You have a seizure disorder, they rat you out. You have alcoholism, they rat you out. I've had numerous clients their doctors have concluded they're alcohol addicts and then have sent in medical fitness suspension letters to RoadSafetyBC.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. Seen it.
Yeah. So this guy's doctor on October 27th, which is not that long ago, less than a month ago, sends a letter to RoadSafetyBC saying this person has a medical condition that puts themselves or the public at risk when they drive. And the doctor doesn't recommend that their license be canceled, but recommends instead that they have what's known as an enhanced road assessment, essentially a road test with like a medical component to it.
You made it through your life with exams, and you've made it through every exam, and you thought you're never going to have to do another exam in your life of consequence. And then you're 80, and all of a sudden you've got this stress of an exam.
Yep. Anyway, so this guy does this driving assessment and he gets 250 demerits. There's tons of things that they score and he gets 215 of them wrong. And she's shocked that the superintendent of motor vehicles didn't just automatically yoink his license as a result of that.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess the issue is I don't know how they calculate the demerits and what they're necessarily for. Like you could, if it's out of 5,000 demerits, then that's one thing. If it's out of 300 possible demerits you could have, it's another. I mean, I don't understand how you get past that 215 demerits and still get to keep your license.
Well, here's how. And this is, I think, what's kind of like buried in the news story about this. And I think what maybe this woman doesn't understand is that he's not being allowed to keep his license. He was being given an opportunity after the assessment to continue to drive while RoadSafetyBC reviews the results of the assessment and allows him to make submissions, including with any further medical evidence, to them that he should be allowed to drive. Like, it's procedural fairness in action.
I mean, you could think about 250 very small things that could happen too. Like you might have a tendency to touch the line or something every time you make a right-hand turn. You might bump the curb. No, you're not going to make 215 right-hand turns. I don't know. It's one of those things that I never felt was fleshed out well enough in the story to make this determination, and it almost felt like a rage-baiting headline.
Yeah. I mean, if you
Because as you and I know, they're pretty strict with people. I mean, they try and be realistic and recognize the fact that people are aging and they're not, they don't want to be cruel to anybody, but they're pretty strict.
And you do have the opportunity to request a review of the decision. So,
Procedural fairness.
as you're entitled to be heard, you're entitled to be heard on any decision that could affect you. And so this is really just the legal system in action. What she's more concerned about, I think, which is a real problem, is the backlog. That it shouldn't take this long to consider that. And she's right.
Yeah. Yeah, she is right. But we look at so many different backlogs in government. I mean, think how long we wait for a response from the provincial government on all sorts of things to do with our distillery.
Yep.
And we're generating revenue that's taxable revenue and employing people, and like sitting and waiting, can't hire somebody because we are waiting. So tired of waiting for the provincial government.
Yes. Okay. Other ridiculous things. I guess we don't really have a ridiculous driver this week. We just have a bunch of ridiculous things.
I said you're a ridiculous driver just now.
You? Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, no, it's a good one. It's
Okay.
just
We'll get there.
yeah.
It's that time of year, Paul, when the reports come out from all the police complaints and discipline for every municipal police department. And this year there was a great driving law related one where a Victoria police officer ended up being suspended for 5 days for impaired driving on the basis of him getting an IRP. And more specifically, and I think the reason for the bigger problem was that this person, when they were pulled over by an RCMP officer somewhere else, they told the member that they had nothing to drink. So it wasn't just that they got an IRP. They also lied, and they got an extra day without pay for lying in the circumstances.
Yeah, and that officer's credibility is going to be in question anytime they end up coming to court now after that, especially after this making the news.
Good bit of meal for sure.
Yeah, so it's horrible for that officer. And the worst thing about it from my perspective, trying to be sympathetic with the officer for a second, is I know that these are split-second bad decisions when you know that you're in trouble. And also you've been drinking, and you don't make good decisions when you've been drinking. However,
no better.
I know. Well, they should know better. There are a couple of options there. And as a police officer, you do have the right to silence. You may not want to exercise the right to silence in those circumstances as a police officer.
They can't hold it against you if you do.
I know you think you can, but imagine you're a lawyer there and you show up at a roadblock. have this expectation as a lawyer and as a police officer to be forthright in circumstances where a forthright answer is expected. I would probably remain silent and think that, okay, well, I would rather deal with the consequences of remaining silent than speaking up or providing that answer, maybe, if I was in those circumstances. But as a police officer, when you are asked by another police officer something that, and again, this is in the context of it is, you have use immunity for the purpose of a criminal charge. If you're asked by another police officer, have you had something to drink tonight? I think there's an expectation to give an answer. Now, the worst answer is to lie, because that's just dishonesty.
I think
But
you're completely wrong. I think you're
yeah,
completely wrong for a number of reasons. One, what if you tell the truth? What if you had one drink and that is in fact the truth and you failed the EOC for all the reasons you and I both know can happen? Then
yeah,
they're going to say you lied anyway, right?
true.
Number
Yeah,
two, why should you have to give up your rights just because you're a police officer off duty to like not be able to exercise your right to silence? That's wrong. That's not
okay.
fair.
Yeah,
I don't want to be bound by that as a lawyer. Or there's some expectation that I should answer a police question. No, in fact, as a lawyer, there's expectation I would be more quiet.
yeah. No, I follow your logic. I don't know that I would, in those circumstances, necessarily follow do what your logical answer says. If I was either a lawyer or a police officer.
The thing I find so problematic about like them, the officer like lying is, not just as you said, and you quite rightly point out that there's going to be a big lasting credibility problem, but there's so many times, and you know this, you go to traffic court or you're dealing with an officer in the hallway before a trial, and they're like, well, he lied to me. And if he'd just been honest, I would think about it differently. If he'd just told me the truth.
Yeah, that's so often police officers looking for an excuse not to do something. I can tell you, I've been lied to by police officers many times over the course of my career. Um, very often, lied to by police officers in the hallway of the courthouse, to my face. I don't, I operate under no delusions when it comes to honesty of police officers. I know they train themselves that every police officer is going to be honest at all times. But you and I have seen the truth, and a lot of officers think that they're all going to be at all times, and that is the idea of being able to rely on police officers, and it's a long history of that. You've got to maintain your honesty at all times because your credibility matters more than almost anything else when it's you're a police officer. But then you get them on the witness stand and you see them making up stories rather than just conceding that they're not sure. You can see that they're just no different than any other person.
Well, on the topic of making up stories, let's talk about police officers swearing or affirming reports and acting as commissioners.
Yeah.
BC Supreme Court case this week, judicial review. I'm actually surprised the government ran this. I don't know.
I'm surprised they ran it and didn't just send it back. I have to think. I mean, we've had cases that were like this that they just sent back and never ended up published hearing, which is our preference because we don't want our client's name to be in a published decision. But I don't know why they ran it if they didn't read it. I don't know why they ran this one.
Yeah.
At least it gives BC Supreme Court an idea of how these things can go.
Yeah.
So they don't normally see them this bad.
Basically, what happened in this case was the superintendent of motor vehicles received a report to superintendent from a police officer required to be sworn. The officer had duly signed on the dotted line for the signature of the affiant, and the commissioner put a stamp. Just a stamp with a name and a regimental number. Now, you don't actually have to have like a signature. You could print your name and that would be fine. You could write an X. You could draw a happy face, whatever. But I mean, if that's your signature.
If you drew a happy face, there would be an argument.
I'm going to change my signature to a happy face just to win this argument. You're looking at me like you're so mad. Because you're like, I know you're stubborn enough that you would do something stupid like that, Kyla. Anyway, so the superintendent upheld it and said, stamp, signature, it's all the same, really. It doesn't make a difference. The point is the commissioner commissioned and the affiant affianted. So they're all good, you know? It's pretty much the same thing. And the court was like, well, hold up. That's not pretty much the same thing. You have this obligation that the court recognizes in the Court of Appeal decision in Murray, that, you know, an officer swearing or affirming a document must appreciate the solemnity of their act. So by logical extension, the person who is taking the oath or affirmation must also appreciate the solemnity of that. And yet that's not what happened here. And the adjudicator doesn't even appear to have grappled with this.
Yeah, I mean, I would have just assumed that the adjudicator would have known better. You know?
One would hope.
But of course, if something is glaring, you don't have to argue it in an IRP if it's glaring.
Yep, that is correct. If something's glaring, it doesn't need to be argued, and yet it apparently, even when it was argued. The weird thing I find about the decision is there's a sort of like implicit undercurrent in it that nobody ever addresses, which is that the adjudicator effectively required the applicant, the petitioner, to prove that the report was not properly sworn, when the Motor Vehicle Act is very explicit that it is not your obligation to prove that's despite Section 215.5 sub 1 that they have to revoke, and 215.5 sub 1 is the burden section. And the adjudicator's reasons are all like, well, you know, you didn't establish that they didn't actually appear before each other. Like, and how on earth would somebody do that? That's why there's no burden on the person to do it, because it's impossible.
Well, they like to set up impossible burdens for you at the Superintendent of Motor Vehicles, knowing full well you can't meet it because they don't give you the disclosure.
Yep. Good point. Fair point. So yeah, lots been going on in driving law this week. Last thing we'll touch on before we get to your ridiculous driver of the week is something that's going on in the States that I thought was very interesting. Not, you know, I think it's a terrible thing the way they're doing it in the States, but I think it's very interesting implication-wise for the future. So you know,
surveillance state.
Surveillance state, yeah. You know those big like traffic cone bollard things?
Yeah, well, not the ones that are designed for you to collide into, but the ones that are used as gigantic pylons. So they look like a barrel. They can set them out to control traffic and on the roadside to mark something that's dangerous or what have you. Big orange ones.
Yep. Well, they can also stick a camera inside them and cut out a little view window and use them for surveillance.
And apparently that's what they've been doing in the U.S. So again, as the U.S. moves to more totalitarian dictatorshipist, you know, it's an attitude that prevails throughout the culture, I guess, at least the law enforcement culture starts at the top and it eventually becomes the regular thing that's accepted. They are now taking these big orange pylons, cutting holes in the back of them so they can monitor license plates driving by using AI and various different computer systems for license plate recognition to look for suspicious activity of your license plate. So if you're driving to your lover, or maybe you're picking up your child who perhaps needs to take a trip to Canada for medical care not available in the U.S., they can monitor you and see when they're going to need to then notify the local police to pull you over.
There you go.
And what they call a soft pullover.
Terrifying.
So they claim you're speeding or they claim you're doing something wrong to pull you over, a complete fraudulent pullover.
And then, you know, there's only a matter of time before somebody suggests they use them for traffic enforcement here in Canada.
Oh, absolutely. Around the world.
Probably already thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Once they see that, there's going to be police officers saying, good idea.
Yep. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And you know, maybe the cameras can get close enough to actually get a picture of who's in the driver's seat so we can ticket the driver instead of just the owner. Yeah,
I know. Well, I mean, that's, as you and I know, camera technology has improved so much. It's no longer just capable of getting a photograph of a license plate. It can also get great detailed, no longer grainy photos of individual space.
Yep.
Bingo, bango, bongo.
Bingo, bango, bongo. All right. So you have a ridiculous driver for us. I haven't seen it, so it's all you.
It's
Ridiculous driver of the week.
as we pointed out, the ridiculous drivers of the week used to always be in news stories, and it used to be something that you could back up with like some local news organization that investigated it. But now that there's no journalists left, and most of the news stories seem to be written by AI, we don't get that local news that we used to. But on TikTok and Instagram, and I sent it to you, was a photo taken from one of the hotels in Richmond, BC, that is right near the highway, and this is the highway going to the Oak Street Bridge, and it's a video, and you can see it over a restaurant called Chop there, and it is of a tandem dump truck
Okay.
pushing a Tesla, just pushing the Tesla,
Yes.
well, quite obviously on purpose, I would think, looking at the video, again, getting back to our discussions that we've had in the office about the quality of video lately. This
So it's
dump
like a
truck
road rage situation?
looks like it. Yeah. So, I don't know if the police are investigating what they're doing at this point. They must be doing something. In the previous cases, this is a new thing. Okay. We've only seen this in the last 4 or 5 years where there's a truck pushing a car along, and then the truck driver's pulled over and I didn't know there was a car there in front of me, or a motorcycle or whatever. And most of the time the car's sideways, and so there's some plausible deniability, although I don't think anybody really believes it. The person's got a defense. Well, in this case, it is full on pushing a Tesla from the back. And surprising to me is that the Tesla driver's not driving away. Maybe their car is malfunctioned. Maybe it's when it's been hit, it doesn't keep driving. I don't know. But it looks like he just continues to drive, right? He just continues to push this car. So it looks like a full on road rage situation. And I know Paran will be able to find it. I'll send it to him too. It was also posted on Instagram. Doesn't look like AI to me. Like, it looks legit. But yeah, white Tesla being pushed by a tandem dump truck toward the Oak Street Bridge on, I guess, Highway 99, heading into Vancouver in Richmond. And I'm at a loss to figure out what's going on in the mind of either one of these drivers. But angry truck driver decides to push a Tesla that has cut him off. Yeah, you're kind of thinking to yourself, death wish vigilantism maybe will discourage some people from cutting one off. And so, yeah, it's a wild video. It's worth watching. It's like the person's sort of narrating it. They're like, look at this. What's going on in the roads of the Lower Mainland of British Columbia? We have our ridiculous driver. The tow truck driver, or the tandem dump truck driver is the ridiculous driver, obviously. The Tesla driver is probably someone who's, terrified in their Tesla.
And blaming the Tesla driver, they probably caused it all on account of them being in a Tesla.
Yeah, I know. Because people's sympathy for Tesla drivers has changed entirely.
Yep.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, it is. All right. Well, that's our podcast. If you have a driving law related issue, or you're a dump truck driver who pushed a Tesla, you can give us a call at 604-685-8889, or find us online at vancouvercriminallaw.com, and tune in next week for another exciting episode of Driving Law.